Good morning. I'm outside right now in my backyard filming the intro for this video on the iPhone XS, and it's going to be a camera comparison. There's a lot of sun, that's why I'm not looking at you, but it's going to be a camera comparison between the iPhone XS and my Google Pixel 3a XL, okay? So I love both phones. I got my Google Pixel there's a bug on me. Continuing the second part of the video after I cut from the bug on my hand on the Google Pixel 3a XL. So anyway, I got this phone, I want to say last year in like August or something, and I really loved the phone. It's so much more fun to use, in my opinion, so much more user friendly and like actually better from day-to-day life compared to my iPhone. But the reason I switched back to iPhone was because of the fact that the camera on the Pixel, at least on social media, is absolutely trash on the 3a XL. I was getting really frustrated because I know the camera itself is good, but it just looked like I had one of those cheap $20 Android phones every time I would post something, and I'm a teenager, and at the time I was 18, so, you know, a lot of my life revolves around Snapchat, Instagram, those types of things. So I was like, I'm going to be using my camera more for social media than I would for regular photos because I don't have kids, I'm not a mom. So I was like, I'm just going to go back to iPhone. So that's what made me get the XS. And so I am making this video to kind of show the differences, because when I see a lot of review videos, people make the videos showing the differences between the cameras on the stock camera app, but they never really show the differences on social media. And I think, at least for teenage consumers, that is going to be a big part of their decision, or at least it is for me, and every time I look for those videos I can never find them. So this is that video. I'm going to be comparing the stock camera app, and then I'll tell you when I go to other social media apps as well, and I'll give you samples from all of them so you can make a better, more informed decision. But the reason that I'm making this now and asking questions to people with Pixel 5s is because I want to know, has the Pixel 5 improved performance on social media compared to the older Pixels? Because I really want to upgrade to that phone. I think it's overall a better deal, much better features, completely better battery life than the iPhone 12. So I'm trying to see if it's worth it for me to upgrade to that. Will I be happy or will I regret it? So anyone with a Pixel 5 watching this video, please pay attention to the social media part and let me know, does your phone perform better on social media, or is it still the same? Recording on iPhone XS again. Just so you know, this is not a full in-depth camera comparison. I am simply comparing the things that I use the most as a 19-year-old. I'm not doing slow-mo or anything like that because I find that I really never use those features. I never use slow-mo. I really never use portrait mode on the selfie camera or on the back camera. I did include some on the back camera, but I literally forgot to do them on the front. So I might have to do one on the front camera and insert it for this video, but it's a very simple camera test. If you want to see an in-depth camera test, I'll have to link some down below from some people that I really like. But the main point of this was just to see if people who are watching this can tell me if the camera quality is better or if it's the same. And although I was expecting it to be bad, when I actually went out and in the real world, like my backyard and around my house, and actually took photos on both phones, for some reason in 2020, I don't know if it's software updates that have come to the 3a XL or what, or if it's just a different perspective in my eyes, but I feel like the camera is not as bad as I initially thought it was when I was actually using this phone every single day. I was able to upload them to Google Photos and view them from my iPhone. And when I viewed them from my iPhone, they're really not that bad. In a lot of cases, they're actually quite similar. And I find that the aesthetics of the phone are just different. Like, this phone has more saturation. It looks very modern, looks very fresh. These pictures are a little bit more true tone and kind of vintage depending on what app you're using. And I kind of like that. So it really just depends on what look you're going for. Okay, so this photo is from the iPhone XS on portrait mode. As you can see, my hair is like completely blurred. You can't really see any of my curl pattern except for the very top by my forehead. It tends to do that. Also, I noticed that the aspect ratio is a lot more zoomed in for some reason than on the Pixel phone. Both of these photos are 4:3, but for some reason the Pixel, you can see more of my face. And also I think the Pixel did a better job of showing my hair and then blurring off towards the end. So while the iPhone is clearer, the Pixel shows more of me. This is the Pixel phone. Again, I think it's very clear. You can see the detail. And this is the iPhone, a bit blurry as well and kind of artificial in the colors. Here's another one from the iPhone. Colors are very vivid, but as you can see, it doesn't do a great job of falling off onto the background like the orange leaf and the green thing. you can see all of it. It cut the tips off a little bit. And on this Pixel photo, you can see it does a better job. Still, it's a little bit cut off at the ends, but it does a better job of trying to find where it ends and begins. So I would prefer the Pixel photo. So now using a detail shot, this is just the regular camera. I'm noticing this, by the way, is the Pixel, very clear. It's a very hard to tell the difference between the Pixel and the iPhone on photos like these, but I'm noticing the Pixel has more color accuracy than the iPhone. This is the iPhone picture, and this is still slightly yellow. If you look at the color of the edges, it's made this air conditioner yellow for some reason. And I think iPhones tend to do this where they oversaturate. And I sometimes prefer that, but sometimes I prefer the accuracy of the Pixel. So it really depends. Okay, so getting into some shots from social media, this is the Pixel on Instagram. And by the way, these aren't going to be identical photos, but the subjects in the photos will be the same. It's in the same location, that just the dog moved a little bit. But as you can see, it's not amazingly clear, but it's an Android, so social media is not optimized for Androids. And as you can see, obviously on the iPhone, it is much clearer because again, it's an iPhone. iPhone's social media apps are designed for iPhone, they're optimized for iPhone. I do think that both are acceptable. One isn't terrible, they're not like blurry or anything. It doesn't look ridiculous. They're both very usable. It's very clear one is from an Android and one is from an iPhone, in my opinion. Getting into the front facing camera on Instagram, this is where we see major differences. In my opinion, although I think this photo is still usable, it looks vintage, like as if I applied a vintage filter. In reality, I did not. This is just the straight up Instagram camera versus the iPhone photo. Clearer, still, in my opinion, I'm not a fan of the saturation. I don't think that I'm that color, but it's obviously much more clear. Okay, so going back to what I was saying about how it's very difficult to tell the difference on the back camera, I mean that. And this is kind of what made me change my mind about the whole Android on social media being so bad thing, because this is the iPhone picture and it looks almost identical to the Pixel photo. Like, I really could not figure out which was which, so I had to go to the settings on the bottom of the photo to see which one was which because I couldn't remember. They're pretty much identical, and they were both taken on the Snapchat camera. So for some reason in the past, when I used Snapchat, I thought the photos looked terrible and I could see a major difference. I think it's because you're viewing it through the Pixel, because the Pixel screen is showing it from the Pixel phone. But if you were to look at, like my Snapchat story from an iPhone, you really cannot tell the difference. At least in my experience, when I was going through these to get the pictures ready for this video, I really could not tell the difference. Like, it doesn't show more grain, more pixelation on the photos. They're literally like identical, except for the fact that my dog's head is turned, and that's how I was able to tell the difference between the photos, but they really look almost the same. So I think the major difference you'll see on social media is in the front camera rather than the back. Another place where the camera looks exactly identical to the other is on this back camera photo from the regular camera. Honestly, I'm going to let you guess which is which because I'm trying to remember as I'm saying this. Okay, yeah, that was the iPhone. This one is the Pixel, but they literally look pretty much identical except for on the succulent on the left, there's a little bit of difference. Again, another photo taken just from the regular camera app. This is the iPhone, obviously. You can tell by the bright colors. And it's a little blurry. I don't know if the camera was dirty. I hope so, because I like to think that the camera gets sharper photos than that, or it could be the sun, because sometimes iPhones tend to overshoot when there's a lot of sun. This is clearly the Pixel. It comes down to personal preference. Because the Pixel is so sharp, it's tending to make the trees dark. These photos are so similar that when I was recording my review thoughts on this, I had to redo it because I said which one was which incorrectly. This is the iPhone, but I thought this was the Pixel. And this is the Pixel, but I thought it was the iPhone. So they really look almost exactly the same, but if you look closely at the soil, that's where I could tell that I was wrong. I was like, wait a minute, this is definitely the Pixel. So they're both really good because I mistook them for each other, so... Okay, here's the front camera, regular, no portrait mode or anything. If I'm being completely honest, I don't like this photo. It's from the iPhone. I don't take selfies on the regular iPhone front-facing camera, and thus the lighting is absolutely ideal because I don't like the way that it looks. I don't prefer either of these. The Pixel is going to be next. Yeah, I don't prefer either. I really don't like using the regular front-facing camera on either phone just because for some reason, especially in this particular lighting, it doesn't come out the way I want. But you can see on the Pixel, it makes it look cooler as if I'm in the winter when it was cold outside, but it wasn't winter cold. All right, this is front-facing camera from the Pixel on Snapchat. Not much in the background. The sky is kind of what is it called? Blown out. Hair's a little bit fuzzy, but again, it kind of looks like a filter. It comes down to personal preference. Because for me, the iPhone shot, which is this one, I don't really prefer that one either. It just comes down to personal preference, honestly, because neither of these are something that I would say, oh, I love this photo, although you can see more of the sky, it's more focused, it's less blown out. I don't prefer either. Where I start to see the biggest amount of difference, again, this is on Snapchat on the Pixel front-facing camera with a filter, is when you use filters on the front-facing camera on the Pixel. Because the Pixel on Snapchat is already a little bit blurry, as you can see in the last photo. So adding a filter makes it more blurry, and then some people reuse their Snapchat photos to post to Instagram. So once you do that, because it's blurry like 3 times, it's going to look bad. Whereas this one obviously is the winner here. If you were to upload this to Instagram, it would be, a little bit blurry, but it wouldn't be as bad as the Pixel. So I think the iPhone wins here a little bit because, again, although both don't look amazing in my opinion, especially not with this specific filter, I think because of the clarity of the iPhone, once you add filters, it maintains some of the quality that the Pixel loses. It always comes down to personal preference. If you like light leaks, then this is the one for you. This is from iPhone. I don't prefer this. I don't think it's very usable. I think the tree is kind of washed out a little bit. Even though there's some focus on the leaves, I just feel like because of the light leaks and the sun blowing the photo out, it's not very good. I would rather have this photo. This is from the Pixel. The sun is much more controlled, and you can see the tree is very clear. You can see almost all the leaves on it, and you still see the color and the clarity of the tree. So I much prefer this photo. Pixel, back camera, regular. Here's my dog. I think this is a beautiful photo. Very good lighting, very true to color, I'd say. And you can see everything's detailed. The rocks are nicely detailed. Her eyes are nice. You can see her individual hairs. On the iPhone, I think it focused more on her face, obviously, even though it's not a portrait mode photo. So you can see her hairs on her face, but on her body, it's kind of blurry. The rocks aren't as clear. And I think until doing this photo comparison, I didn't notice how grossly oversaturated the iPhone is. She's not this color. It's just very yellow, in my opinion. All right, this photo is from the Pixel back camera, regular. I think it's a bit bright on the highlights of her back, and her eye is a little bit dramatic. But overall, it's a usable photo. It's not that bad in my opinion. This is the iPhone. I think the iPhone will win on this photo. Her eye is still dramatic, but I think it's a nicer brown. Her back isn't as blown out. You can see the hairs, and the grass looks realistic in my opinion. So I think the iPhone wins on this one. Okay, this photo, these two photos, I had the most trouble differentiating. I'm still kind of doubting which is which because they look almost the same. Although I can tell this is the Pixel because if you look at this little candle kind of thing with the sticks poking out, it is more focused and it's not as saturated. Whereas on the iPhone, it kind of loses some of the detail in the items and the sky is extremely blue. And by the way, this photo was taken in the house at like 10 in the morning. So it's not this bright. So I was sick yesterday when I took these pictures. I like that the Pixel has the option of smooth filter because it makes me look a little bit better than I did in reality. I forgot to turn it off in this, but in the other pictures it's off. This is the iPhone. As you can see, it makes me look a lot more rough, a lot more sick. And you can see this little dot in my hair, and my zit is a lot more noticeable in the iPhone shot. Here's a video test. This is from Snapchat, and this is the Pixel. This is also from Snapchat. This is the iPhone. I think iPhone does better on video, as we all know. It still oversaturates, but I prefer that.
Snapchat front-facing camera on the Pixel 3a. Here's my voice. Here's the audio to test it. Here's the Snapchat camera front-facing, obviously. Here is my voice. Here's the audio to test it.
Okay, so after going through the footage, I just did all the editing and everything for this. It really comes down to personal preference, because on some there is literally no difference. Like, some of the back camera photos that I showed from the Pixel versus the iPhone are so close that you really would not be able to tell, and you would be genuinely satisfied with either. I think the difference comes down to the front camera and whether or not you want a crisp, very modern, oversaturated, sometimes overblown photo, or whether you prefer vintage, sharpened, accurate color photos. It really depends on personal preference, because the iPhone wins on some, whereas the Pixel wins on others. And I don't think there's ever going to be a camera test that has the iPhone win the entire thing or the Pixel win the entire thing, because they just do different things. The Google Pixel software is a lot better with editing and with portrait mode from these pictures that I'm showing, whereas the iPhone is a lot better, on social media and more clear, right? So it really comes down to personal preference, because I'm watching this back. They're both very usable, right? Like, I really don't know why I was tripping when I had the Pixel, because yeah, it's not iPhone quality, but that's because it's not an iPhone. It's Pixel quality. They're two different phones. They're really usable. Like, the more that I watched this video and the more that I edited for this video, I was like, well, it's a $300 phone compared to $1,000 flagship phone. You know, you can't expect the quality to be the same. I'm saying that the quality is not bad. I'm not saying the quality is bad, because it's not. It's just different. Android isn't iPhone and iPhone isn't Android. So the quality is never going to be the same. So if you want an iPhone and the iPhone quality matters to you, buy an iPhone. But if you're okay with either one, then get the Pixel. I was doing a little social media stalking on the hashtag Pixel5, and I noticed that people who did have Pixel 5s that were not reviewers, just like people who had them in their personal life, I watched their like highlight stories to see what it looks like on stories and stuff. And honestly, the quality looks perfectly fine. Like, I really, at this point, the lines are getting very blurred between being able to tell you have a Pixel versus an iPhone. But my question that I started the video is still relevant. The question that I started the video with is still relevant. If anyone who has a Pixel 5 is watching this, please feel free to comment down below your experience with social media, whether you think you can tell that you have an Android or that the quality is lower, because it's not even about having an Android, it's about the fact that Android doesn't have apps, like social media apps, optimized for it. So like I said, the quality on the back camera, or even the regular camera on the Pixel, was different when you took it to social media. So do you think that Pixel or Google has done a better job of making the Pixel look good on social media? Do you think it looks good on social media in general? Do you think the line between iPhone and Pixel is getting more and more blurred to where you can't really tell the difference? Let me know your opinions down below. Let me know which phone overall you would take based on this camera comparison. And yeah, thanks for watching.